Hello, this is Heather Hayes, and today I will be presenting a book called Too Many Babas by Carolyn Kroll. This is an older book. It was published in 1979, and you can see that the colors are kind of muted, and it's been loved. I, I read it a whole bunch when I was a kid, and then my mom gave it to me once I had children. So in this book, you think, too many babas. What's a baba? It's a grandmother. So the main character of this book is Baba Edis. She is a little old lady, a grandmother, and she wakes up on a cold winter day and she decides that she needs to do something to warm herself up. So she decides to make some soup. So you can see it's all cold and has to get out of her bed. I know how that feels, even in Idaho, how cold it is to get out of bed some mornings. So she starts some water boiling and starts chopping vegetables, starts making a soup to warm her bones. Then her friend stops by, Baba Basha, and she invites her to stay and have some soup too. And Baba Basha gives the soup a little taste and decides it needs some salt, so she puts a whole fistful of salt in it. And then another friend stops by, and it's Baba Yetta. She tastes the soup and thinks, oh, it needs a little pepper, so she puts a whole bunch of pepper into it. And then another friend stops by, Baba Mocha, and she tastes the soup and decides it needs some garlic, so she puts 4 garlic cloves in it. Any of you who cook know that 4 garlic cloves go a long way. So they've each added some spice to the soup, and before they eat it, they help like set the table and everything. Then she sets the table, I think, on the first round. They help her here in a minute, but they each go back and add a little bit more of their favorite seasoning to the soup. So they all sit down, excited to eat it, and once they do eat it, you can see from their faces how they feel about it. It's pretty disgusting. They put way too much salt, pepper, and garlic in the soup. Nobody likes it. So Baba Edis is not happy and says, "You guys spoiled my soup. I invited you to come and look what you've done." And they feel bad, so they throw out the old soup and they start afresh. And they each take a turn helping with something. One of them washes the pot, one of them cuts vegetables. But only Baba Edis adds the seasonings. So they boil it up, and this time it tastes great. And they all leave. They help wash the dishes, clean the kitchen, and say goodnight, and it's a happy ending. And it kind of teaches you that one, when you're invited over, maybe you shouldn't take over their kitchen. And when you divide and conquer on a project, sometimes you need to be careful not to have too many people being over the same thing, because it can ruin what you're doing. The muted tones of this book may not appeal to a lot of younger readers. I noticed on Amazon that this book is now redone with really bright, colorful. It's like the same drawings, but they've mastered the color, made them more colorful. And I have to admit, I kind of like the muted tones of this picture book because it makes my eyes kind of take a back seat, and it engages my other senses. I can feel how cold the winter's morning must be, and I can smell the soup simmering, and I can imagine the pungent smell of 4 garlic cloves going into it. And I can imagine how it tastes to have all those flavors and too much of it and that going onto my tongue and going, oh, yuck. So being forced to use my other senses makes me feel like I'm right there with them and I'm living the story. And so I guess that's one plug for muted tone books. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I hope you'll pick it up and read it someday. Thanks.